Hey everyone, this is Desert Sun Crypto with your host, the Desert Sun. We've got a lot to cover right now, a lot going on in the crypto space, some breaking news, and just some interesting things. I got to tell you, of any hobby that I've had, and I've had many, I collected baseball cards, I watched sports, you name it, just hobbies you have. This has probably been one of the most interesting hobbies that I've had because every day there's like 50 things going on. It's hard to juggle them all. It's even harder to talk about because how do I convey some of the stuff that I come across that I research in an effective way and not seem like I have, attention deficit disorder. I'm all over the place. So I try my best to keep everything in order and linear, but I'm telling you, this space is just all over the place. Coinbase. Top executives face securities class action lawsuit over NASDAQ listing. Some of you may or may not know, but Coinbase IPO'd about a month, 2 months ago now. And there were some high expectations. And so Donald Ramsey, who's one of the shareholders in Coinbase, is filing a class action, a lawsuit naming CEO Brian Armstrong, um, the chief legal officer Paul Grewal, and other top executives. Look, from what I've read and everything here, there's just a lot of high expectations with Coinbase and how it was going to open. Here's the overview. It opened at on the 14th of May at 381. I remember at the time people were talking about, oh, it's going to go to 1,000. It's going to just go to the moon. Well, that didn't really happen. About mid-May, right around the time right here, if you can see with my pointer, around the 19th, Coinbase, Binance, even Gemini, everything got bogged down and it slowed people's transactions and it put into question the effectiveness of Coinbase. So we'll see where this goes. There's been a number of lawsuits that have been happening. I'll obviously get to the one that I believe is the most important one here in a second. But this is just brand spanking new, so we'll see what happens to all the folks at Coinbase. I think, if anything, what it's going to do is it's really going to call into question the effectiveness of everyone who is buying and selling money on the Coinbase exchange. I mean, if you're in a bull run and you've got a lot of people pulling money out at the same time and it slows things down, you essentially are losing millions of customers, during those times. So we'll see what happens as things go on. Also, in the justice world, Ethereum developer Virgil Griffith is back in jail after allegedly checking Coinbase account. Right, speaking of Coinbase, so uh, a while back, I'll pull up the article that I found. Manhattan U.S. attorney announces arrest of United States citizen for assisting in North Korea and evading sanctions. So Virgil is essentially serving time for providing highly technical information in North Korea. And to what extent, I would assume that the FBI knows it could have been um, some insider trading. Who knows? But it was deemed, um, you know, pretty severe enough that he's serving time behind bars. Um, he goes on to check his Coinbase account, and then he's back in prison. It kind of reminds me of, I don't know, it was like one of the Coen Brothers movies. Oh, Raising Arizona, where those guys just walk themselves back uh, into jail after they committed all those crimes. Anyhow, um, goes to check on his Coinbase account and ends up back in prison. So that hit the headlines today. Really interesting. Rosalind Layton of Forbes wrote an article, and she's talking about toward a ripple test at the SEC. Now, many people have heard of this lawsuit. I do want to create, um, a video dedicated to what's going on with this lawsuit, besides some of the things that I've seen, and just kind of walk through what does it mean, what am I looking at, and why is it important for the space. What Rosalind here is talking about is uh, everything within crypto to date is measured by a Howey test on whether something's an asset or a security, in particular a security, and people believe Ripple to be a security. So the Howey test has been called into play in this lawsuit. What Rosalind is talking about in particular is that there needs to be, and what will probably be created, is a ripple test in how you determine something to be security. Now, without going too much and too far into what some people have been kind of convoluted with regard to Bitcoin, has everything to do with how one views a crypto coin as an asset or a security, and what all that involves. Um, Before crypto, you had your fiat currency, which was the issue dollar, or you had gold, um, which is considered a store of value. And when we get into some complicated areas, as you have things such as the Flare network coming just around the corner, and it giving the availability for people to have a stake in being their own bank. And it's really, going to complicate things, I think, for the SEC and how they want to regulate. And I believe this lawsuit has everything to do with it. So shout out to this article and calling it what it is. I like that sound of being the Ripple test. Speaking of Ripple, as the lawsuit carries on, what was interesting is it was announced on Crypto Slate. Ripple transferred 60 million XRP even as U.S. SEC lawsuit crawls on. So, between Ripple and Binance, caught on the radar as 110 million XRP got moved. Now, this is interesting because many of us in the space have been watching what's been going on, and people have just been carrying on as business as usual. Now, what in particular, with this lawsuit, and what I want to get into is that Ripple's legal defense used a recent public statement by two SEC commissioners, Hester Pierce, who many know as Crypto Mom, and Alad Roisman, in support, and in their argument, quote, that during the time relevant to this case, members of the public did not have fair notice of what the law requires. Now, this is interesting because the whole argument in this lawsuit is Ripple's fair notice defense. So ultimately, what has been going on for several years is every month, Ripple's gone to the SEC and they've asked for clarity. And they get slapped with this lawsuit, December of 2020. And we've had this lawsuit going on this case going on for now going on several months. And, if you want to get a really good perspective of this lawsuit, and I like referring to him, it's really cleared up, is my man Jeremy Hogan with Legal Briefs. If you can, give him a subscribe. He really breaks down everything. And he's a pretty, funny guy to listen to. Anyhow, I wanted to capture some of the end of what he's talking about, in particular with this letter and what it means to the case.
2021. I mean, you can litigate 100 cases and never get a gift like this letter And I say it's a gift from the heavens because you know that the commissioners could never comment on pending litigation, and you know that Ripple could never get the judge to make them sit for deposition, and you know that with judicial notice, this letter had to be attached to another case, like the case that was just settled, so that was a case that the commissioners could comment on because the case had been settled. So they took that opportunity to put out their thoughts on the confusion that exists in the marketplace. The stars just aligned on this one, my friends. I mean, it was almost like the commissioners took the opportunity presented specifically to help Ripple. Like, well, let me just remind you of a saying by John Stuart Mill: the only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing. Instead of evil, think SEC, and instead of good men, think good commissioners. Am I being clear here? And if you are in the crypto industry and believe in it, never forget how brave it was for Commissioner Pierce and Roisman to stick to their convictions, no matter its effect on them, and to state what they believe to be the truth.
So this is so interesting because I do believe, just as Jeremy Hogan laid out, this is, I think, two SEC chairs activating, their own position and helping out the case. Anyone who's been watching this from the beginning has been scratching their head over why Ripple is in court in the first place. And I think as we go on, the narrative is clear with everything else going on. Ripple is going through the trial by fire. They will come out victorious on the other side. And having been one of the only companies to have gone through the gauntlet, is laying down the foundation for regulation that will thereafter happen. So, another reason why I'm huge on XRP. Again, this is not financial advice, not financial advisor. New Jersey's pension invested $7 million in Bitcoin mining stocks last quarter. This is so interesting. As time goes on, we just keep seeing more and more people adopt the notion that, perhaps, cryptocurrency isn't this big bad wolf and volatile and, no one knows what it is. Here you have one of the larger populated states, municipalities, invested into their in their pension system. So that's going to be interesting. It'd be interesting to see if how many other municipalities catch on to this. We already saw, many articles earlier this year talking about Miami wanting to deem itself as the crypto capital of the world. They wanted to be the first city to accept Bitcoin. Um, you know, as time goes on, this is just going to be like the early days where, people were saying, what's the internet? Why are people going to want to spend so much time on it? I see this the same way. I'm going to be posting, some more videos that add some more clarity to what exactly crypto is and inform you a lot. Going to be taking about a day or two off. I'll come back Sunday with some more videos. I do want to leave you with the last video here. Max Kaiser in Miami, just making an absolute ass out of himself. I love Max Kaiser. He's hilarious. Kind of overdid it. I think his ego just went through the roof, and you can kind of see him just have a meltdown. But I put a video of this on my TikTok, and let me just play this one out before we go.
Explain something to you right now. Okay, here's a $10 bill. This is garbage. This is garbage. Your people in South Africa, you have your rand, right? That's going to zero. That's going to zero. This is going to zero too. Euros are going to zero. The yen's going to zero. The Chinese currency is going to zero. It's all going to zero against Bitcoin. If you don't understand that yet, you're going to be impoverished. You're going to be on the street. You're going to be begging. You're going to be out of business. You're going to be toast.
Max, do you know that it's a criminal offense to tear up?
Do you know that with the Bitcoin I have, I can buy any freaking senator or congressman I want? I make the laws. He who has the Bitcoin makes the laws, Rand. We're not going to just sit around and let the goddamn congressman tell us what to do. We've got the capital. We make the laws. We've got the Bitcoin. They don't. We got it. They don't. Do you understand?
I got you, Max. I got you.
I'll tell you, this is one of the most entertaining spaces to be in right now. I get a kick out of it every day. So it's time for me to go. Please like, share, subscribe, and do check out some of my other content I'm putting out there on Instagram as well as TikTok. I'll take care and be back soon.